Greetings, everybody. I am the Starving Martian, and today we're looking at Mars Attacks issue number 5, The Victory of Komo Dath by Topps Comics. This, of course, is Counterstrike Part 5. This is the end of the Counterstrike storyline, and we're actually nearing the end of the Mars Attacks ongoing series as a whole. It sadly only ran 7 issues, and I really wish it had gotten more because the stories do get interesting, and the characters are intriguing, and you just want to know more about what's going on, and sadly it wasn't actually given its proper time to shine, I think. But be that as it may, we have to enjoy what we do have. So let's enjoy it together, shall we? We start at the Kettle Farm, which is in Georgia. This is following up the attempt to brainwash Rush Limbaugh and put a chip in his head to make him give Martian propaganda. Yeah, that happened last issue. And so this kid's listening to the show, and he runs outside to find somebody's destroyed some pigs. No, that's okay. He's got a pitchfork. That'll surely help. And no, it doesn't. He's dead. And here's Sargent Dosqu, our friend from the last issue. Now, if you remember, the attempt on Rush Limbaugh was a two-part strike in itself. It was one part against Rush Limbaugh and the people who listened to him, but it was also carefully set up by a payek named Eyeballs to eliminate Sargent Dosqu, who has become disenfranchised with the Martian cause, who questions Martian leadership, who's seen his friends die and whatnot, and he's become a bit of a cynic, and so he has to go. And so he's been set up. He was supposed to be killed, but he's the sole survivor. Meanwhile, we cut to Indiana, where we see the stadium here, and a little bit of talk about how it's good that some of these stadiums are still on the Earth side of the Great Wall, so they can have their games and everything. But there's a Martian ship that's cloaked and comes in over the stadium. Now, if you remember, these Martian ships, they've been infected with a virus. One by one, they're going to crash onto populated Earth centers, excuse me, killing millions. And the Martians have demanded the antivirus to cure them. And the president, President Newt Gingrich, has actually agreed to their demands. He got his hands on the antivirus, and he's actually given it to the Martians. So why is this ship about to crash? So we see the Martian ship indeed come down and take out however many people are in the field here, along with every single Martian on board. Meanwhile, getting back to our friend Sargent Dosqu here, he's called in his own rescue saucer using a fake name. But unfortunately for him, Eyeballs is onto him, and as soon as the saucer opens, he gets blasted and is gone. Mission accomplished, as my report stated. Regrettably, no survivors. And that's the last we see of Sargent Dosqu. A bit of a bold move. I thought they were setting him up for something. I thought he'd be like a major part of the next storyline, because he's one of the few Martian soldiers who has a character arc. Unfortunately, his arc ends here, crashing down to the Earth in a pile of ashes. And goodbye, Sargent Dosqu. I guess it just doesn't pay to open your mouth sometimes. Meanwhile, we are on a ship called the New Sunrise. It's another one of the Martian ships, and it happens to be the Martian ship where most of the Martian council members are meeting. And the New Sunrise is the next ship that's going to crash. And so there's a push to get to the emergency escape pods, because there's not enough room on the pods for all the Martians, so they're just going to put the council members on. And there's a bit of a stampede from your general rank and file Martians trying to get on board as well. And when all is said and done, the emergency pods fire off with nobody in them. Everybody is trapped inside the New Sunrise, which promptly crashes onto Mexico City, a city currently holding 55 million Earthlings. And so the spaceship, the saucer with like 90% of the Martian Council on it, and all of Mexico City is taken out in one fell swoop. And leaving the government to wonder what's going on. We gave them the code. Why are these ships still crashing? Should we retaliate? Can we retaliate? Is there anything we can do? Meanwhile, back on another one of the Martian ships, we catch up with Komo Dath, the leader of the Martian military. He's being informed of the tragedy over Mexico City. And he seems oddly calm about the situation. So many council members gone, he says. But he's hardly broken up about it. Now we're going to go back to Virginia. We're going to catch up with Ann and Kate and, little Woody Brown here. I don't think we saw them in the last issue, but they've escaped from the cannibal camp, and Ann is telling her sister Kate some of the terrible things that happened to her. She apparently was, when the Martians attacked, she wasn't killed outright. She survived and was taken and was branded as a white card. We've seen these tattoos before, but the one given to Nurse McKay was a black Martian skull design. The white cards are something different. The white cards are the highest status a human can have in Martian society, but it also labels them as genetic experiments. And so they've done experiments on her. They strapped her to a table. They marked her as a white card. They made changes to her body. What kind of changes? We'll see in later issues, but we're shown here that she was given these bright, glowing green eyes. The eyes that she's holding in her hands are some kind of contact lens to hide those. Apparently a Martian called Killis did the actual work, but it was Eyeballs, we met last issue, who told him what to do. So Eyeballs was pulling the strings here. As far as what they did to her, well, we're just told on this page that she escaped, but not until after the changes were already implemented, and that Woody Brown, his mother, was still on the ship. So what happened to her, we won't find out for another couple issues to come. We find our friend Eyeballs here. We'll always recognize him because he's the one munching on eyes. And they see that one of their white cards is returning. And here he calls her Cannibal Ann. That's what she'll be referred to as through the rest of the series. Why Cannibal Ann? We'll find out in just a couple pages. He's wondering why she left her food free and armed, but figures he'll get a chance to tell her when she arrives. So a couple of hours go by, and they get attacked by Martian troops. And Kate tries to fire on them, but she's not very good with the gun. And she ends up getting captured and dragged to the spaceship. Which is not a place you want to be dragged to. And while she's being hauled up into the ship, first of all, Eyeballs here is apparently killed by Ann. But we'll see him later. And I know that doesn't sound possible, but it's comics, anything can happen. And Kate kicks a gun that's about to fire, which takes out the entire ship, which sadly she's inside of. Alright, now let's catch back up with our friend Nurse McKay. Last we saw her, she was recovering from from a miscarriage, an alien miscarriage. So she's been unconscious for a bit. She wakes up to find she's been upgraded to white card status. And she now has these splotches all over her body. And she wonders what those are all about. She's told that they're part of her PMP, her personal modification program. And she's given a personal trainer here in the form of Manwolf, or Manny. Don't get too attached to him. He's only in this and the next page. But yeah, he's just some dude who had his head slapped on a wolf, apparently. And I have to wonder if this was to set audiences up for what will happen in the live-action movie that was coming out very soon, as of the publication of this. But he has almost no role in the story at all. He's just kind of there. And Nurse McKay decides she's had enough, you know. And so she grabs the Martian's gun and blasts him through the head, leaving him to wonder why she must make things so difficult before he dies. Manwolf's just like, ooh, you're in for it now, lady. And that's the end of Manwolf. We don't see him anymore. Now back to Russia, where the Martians have their headquarters. And the Earthlings have passed a message along to Martian High Command. We gave you what you want. Why are the saucers crashing? And Komo Dath tells them to tell him nothing. And so this Martian here discovers that Komo Dath actually has the virus disable program. He's had it all the time, and he's holding on to it. But before he could do anything, one of Komo Dath's personal guards kills him. And so there's nobody who knows what's going on. Komo Dath goes to Talion PR, the leader of the PayX, who he's had a rivalry with, but he admits that he's the most intelligent member of their race, and they needed him to confirm that the antivirus didn't have any kind of backup virus on it. Although the Payak here is also intelligent enough to decipher that this was simply a stalling tactic. And Komo Dath now has the means of ending the threat against the rest of the saucers, but he's also taken out all the council members who could possibly oppose him. And we find out that Colleen McKay has been modified further. We don't see what's going on with her, but she's apparently very dangerous now, and she's being sent as a gift from Komo Dath to Talion PR, the only one, the loose end here, who knows Komo Dath's dark secret. Beware of gifts from Komo Dath. So what happens there, we're going to find out again in another issue. Cannibal Ann mourns her sister, and also mentions that the changes the Martians made on her indeed made her a cannibal. She eats human meat now, and the Martians used to get a kick out of bringing pregnant mothers to her about to give birth and watching her slurp down the infant as it was still attached to the mother. Lovely. Meanwhile, the Martian council, well, not council, the remaining Martians are hailing Komo Dath as their savior because he's saved the rest of the ships, nobody realizing that he's also orchestrated the death of the council, and he is now the single most popular and powerful Martian around. And so we're going to end there because we're about out of time, but that was the final issue of Counterstrike. Very good storyline. I enjoy it quite a bit. Hopefully you did too. This has been the Starving Martian signing off. Keep watching the skies, everybody.